Hey guys, so I've never made a review before, but I wanted to review this, my newest guitar, for a couple reasons. The first one is that it's a limited edition. It's almost a secret. I just happened to stumble upon it on Musician's Friend. I've been shopping for a new guitar for about a year and a half. I think it was just, it was on sale actually, and that's how it just popped out. Second reason that I wanted to review this guitar is because, like I said, I was looking for my next guitar for about a year and a half, and this is perfect. It is 99% exactly what I was looking for. It's professional grade. It's hard to find a guitar like that for under $1,000 where you're just like, okay, this is good to go. It's good for performing, studio, practice, everything. Top professional level. And that's what this guitar is. So the thing that makes this a special run is that it was made exclusively for Guitar Center. It's discontinued. They just made a set number, and then that was it. And I got this in September, and when I called Musician's Friend kind of to see if I could wait to buy, because I wasn't sure if I had the money, they said they only had 19 left in stock. So once those are sold out, you can't get them anymore. Musician's Friend and Guitar Center are both owned by the same parent company, and so I don't know if they both share that stock of 19 availability, or if Musician's Friend had 19 available and then Guitar Center has some other available. But the point is, not a whole lot of these left, and it's an amazing guitar. I guess I'll just talk about the qualities that I was looking for, and it was amazing how hard it was to find all these in one package. I wanted a contoured body, satin finish, that was really hard to find, no tremolo system, I wanted a hardtail bridge, and total fret access. I also didn't want a super strat shape. There were models out there Mockingbirds, there's V's that I tried, and they all came up short in one way or another. This guitar is just either a 10 or 9, like basically all across the board. Pickups, feel, access, everything. You should just go buy it. But let's get into it. The contour of the body is just, like if you look at the thickness of it, I'll try and show you the best shot. Yeah, like right about there. I don't like super thin guitars. So at its maximum thickness, it's as thick as like just a legit guitar. Not quite as thick as a Les Paul, I don't think. Just barely not as thick as a Les Paul. So it's not razor thin, like here, let me show you right here. So like there, it's just like really thin. And it's all at the right spots too. That's kind of like a big deal. Just the carve, the craftsmanship on this thing, it's really, really nice.
Look at the craftsmanship on that thing.
This is the guitar I was trying to replace. This was my main guitar for quite a while. So it doesn't have the carve on here. It does have the carve on the back for the body. And it has a carve like right here too, but just something about it where it's like a lot of guitars that are less than $1,000 or whatever, you know, not super high end, when they do body contours and carves, certain parts will be rounded and other parts will be like hard edged. So that's one thing that this doesn't have. This is just a really nice, every spot is super smooth. You know, it doesn't come to any super hard edges. Like even right here, it's a rounder corner than rather just a sharp, harsh corner.
They didn't have to do that.
They didn't have to. But no, I don't. That's what hooked me.
I got it on sale for $5.99. I would be willing to spend up to about $9.50. It goes for $8.50. The PRS I got, it was $700. So this is just miles ahead of that one. So yeah, the contour's great. Satin finish, that was a big deal for me. It's surprisingly hard to find. Just the satin finish on the neck and on the entire body, it just doesn't get in your way. You know, and that's what I wanted. I wanted something that doesn't get in my way. I just want to play guitar. The reason it's kind of worth mentioning is because this is based on the just traditional A-6 Blackjack. This is still called the Blackjack series for whatever reason, but all those have a gloss finish. And they're also black, which, I don't know, just something about the body and the black just didn't appeal to me at all. And something about this red, I don't like red guitars, but this red, I don't know how well you can see it. It's a subtle, subdued, gothic, dark red, like a crimson, almost like from 300 or something. The wood grain that's coming through comes through in like a black feeling to it. So it's, yeah, it just works really well. The shape too, I'll comment on that really quickly. Obviously, when you generally see this shape, you think of Sinister Gates, but I think it has a lot to do with the paint job. That just, when I look at this guitar, the headstock is different too than Sinister's. It just looks like a guitar. It doesn't look like it's, it doesn't scream Sinister Gates to me. Not to a lot of other people it might, but I don't care. To me, I just see it, I'm like, wow, this is a nice guitar. I like it. It reminds me of kind of a Mockingbird or even a Firebird type. You know, the lines, the curves and everything, minus the horns. You know, there are guitars out there that are like that, that aren't super extreme. To comment on that further, when I posted pictures of this on my Facebook page, when I first got it, I got a lot of compliments on it, and these weren't people that are into guitar. They don't even necessarily know that Sinister Gates has a guitar that looks like this. They just saw it, and they didn't have comments like, whoa, that's a crazy, extreme, way out there guitar. They were just like, wow, that's a really nice guitar. And so that's how it came off to them when they're not necessarily schooled in that area, and that's how it comes off to me. So I just thought it was worth noting that, I don't know, it doesn't necessarily have to be, oh, it's a Sinister Gates shape. I don't know, it's just something I wanted to kind of comment on. This color scheme, by the way, like I said, it's a limited run. This color scheme is the only one that it's available in. The weight is actually, like, perfect. It's about, I didn't weigh it, but it's about 7 pounds. It's not super heavy like a Les Paul, but it's not super light like a 5-pound little thing. It's not burdensome at all, but you can feel that it's there. It feels solid, you know? You just feel really good. Talk about the fret access, which was a huge thing for me. Another guitar I tried that I wasn't into was a Mockingbird. The funny thing about that, and these are things that you just can't tell from looking at a picture, you have to play them, is that something about the way the horn on the bottom came down is that when you were playing, and maybe you were doing a something like that, or you would come off, your finger, your pinky in the back of, well, both of those fingers, kind of tended to hit them. It would hit the horn. And that's just something you don't need. Little things like that where you just can't always tell right away from the pictures and even reviews. So I'll talk a little bit about that. This one has really great fret access. It's actually a set neck. I'll show you really quick. It's just a special design. You can kind of see the cutoff right there where the paint is different. But it feels like a neck through. So that's all that really matters, is that it feels like a neck through. This is how I rate fret access. How high can you go where it's the same as playing up here, where it's not in your way at all? Now we'll just stick with the pinky, okay? So this one, basically, the 23rd fret is where you can get up there from the pinky side. So ideally, I would like that to be the 24th. It's just one fret getting up to that 24th, even on the G string, even on the D string right here. I can still do it. So that's why it gets 9 out of 10. It's not what I would call perfectly ideal, but it's very practical and is very much not in your way. The other side is the thumb side when you're talking about fret access. There's all kinds of reasons why that could happen. The thumb cutoff, that's the first. It stops at the 19th. But some things that can be deceiving, like from pictures, because they don't always show the whole guitar, is where does the fret start, or the neck start to get thicker? If the neck starts to get thicker, like way over here, and you run into that type of resistance when you're trying to come up here, then that's going to be a problem. It doesn't matter what the thumb cutoff is. A bolt-on neck would have that same kind of effect. So you can see that the thumb cutoff is right about the 19th. It starts fanning out where you notice it right about the 17, 18. But you'll notice where my pinky is at the 23rd. So virtually, you're still getting right up there. One doesn't get in the way of the other. You know, thumb versus pinky side. So yeah, it just has really great fret access. Almost a 10 out of 10, just that one little thing when I'm being super strict, which is how I grade guitars. Something else to talk about is the neck. I generally don't like thin necks. Something about this neck being thin, it just works for me. I can't necessarily explain why. Usually I just don't like feeling like there's a razor there. To me, a Les Paul, I don't know how they grade them. You know, there's 59, there's 60, there's 61, but this is my 2000 Les Paul Studio, and this to me is just perfect. It's not too thick, but it's not too thin. Like everywhere you go, you can feel it, so you have that leverage, whether it's for vibrato. I know I said I don't like red guitars, but this again was an exception. Point is, I always liked having something to grab onto without being super huge. But yeah, something about this neck, it doesn't annoy me the way most thin necks do. Can't really say why. It's just, it works. So one small negative about this guitar that I'll talk about is the way it sits. Now before I talk about the negative, I will talk about a positive that's related to where the 24th fret lines up with the center of your torso. Some guitars, just the way the strap pins are or whatever, it's to the right of your center. And so when you're getting up here, you know, it's not just fret access that you have to worry about, it's hitting your own body. So, you know, you can do cool stuff where you look cool, you know, to make it work, but sometimes you don't want to. So the way this one sits, it's a little bit to the left, and that's what I think is absolutely perfect. SGs do this as well, where you kind of feel like when you're playing these chords that your arm's out here, but I like that, you know, because it almost gets you like stretching when you're playing, you know, so that you're not like super tight and coiled up the whole time. It doesn't feel like a big deal to come up to, you know, to get up there. You got 19, you got 21, they're just right there for you. So that's one thing I really do like about the way this sits. The thing I don't necessarily like is that it kind of has a little bit of a neck dive to it. This is about where it likes to sit. So it's not terrible like some Vs or like SGs are infamous for, where, you know, it's going like this. It naturally wants to sit just barely above level, but to me, the ideal spot that my PRS does have, so that's one way it is a little better, I like it to be just below a 45-degree angle. I just saw a video about Michelangelo Battio that he said basically the same thing. He took a protractor and he figured out that it's somewhere around there, just below the 45. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, that's just where I think a guitar should sit. I'm looking into adjusting the position of the strap pin right here to try and fix that. But the more I play this guitar, the more I'm feeling like it's not the biggest deal. It was just something I had to get used to, kind of pushing it up just a little bit at certain times when I'm playing. But it's noticeable, it's noteworthy, so I thought I'd mention it. It's just a little pet peeve of mine. The pickups are amazing, which I will be getting into later. It's got a Nazgul in the bridge, it's got both by Seymour Duncan, it's got a Sentient in the neck. Not a fan of the Sentient, but I'm not a fan of pretty much any neck position pickups because I never use the neck position. Briefly, I will say that it complements the Nazgul really well, and the Nazgul is an amazing pickup. I'll get into more why, and I'll show you why with some tones and everything later, but I will say it's mostly designed for lead in the sense that it has a very punchy and articulate sound. The notes are not going to be subtle, and in a way it almost makes it sound like you're playing cleaner than you are, or cleaner than you would sound with a different pickup, because each note really jumps out at you. It's not necessarily a high gain, high output feeling pickup. It doesn't roar on chords as much as other pickups do, but it still works. That's the extent I'll talk about that for now. One other thing that I'll talk about is the fretboard itself. You kind of almost think, that it's like an ebony fretboard or whatever, and that you would see a little bit of a wood grain, but they actually painted over that. So it's pretty much just a super, super dark brown, but it's one solid, consistent color, and I actually like that. We got the mother of pearl inlays right here. It's not the most intense and amazing rainbow effect, but it is there, as opposed to just the straight white that you see on some guitars. Another thing I guess that's noticeable is these lines right here. I kind of thought when I first got it that it would be a little confusing. Like, oh, is that a string? But no, it doesn't get in your way. It doesn't fool you or anything like that. The corner right here is a little sharp on the saddle. So at times, if you're in your palm mute position, it'll kind of dig in. It doesn't hurt like hell, but after like prolonged sections, especially for practicing, it can get a little discouraging almost to play. So ideally, that's something that I would fix. It's a hip shot bridge. It's what you're going to find on any hip shot bridge, so it's not like it's specific to this guitar. I'm thinking about taking a rasp or a file and kind of just seeing if I can get it down to just be a little more friendly. We got Grover tuners. They're not locking like they say on the Musician's Friend description. They actually the description on the Musician's Friend website is off in quite a few departments. So there's going to be a link in the description straight to the Schecter website. Something else I'll talk about really quick is the controls, as far as just the way they feel and their placement. It's good placement on both of them. But the thing is that the tone, which is push-pull, it's a coil split, but I'm pretty sure on both websites they call it a coil tap, which is actually incorrect because it's not just taking down the output, it's actually turning it into a single coil. But it kind of feels flimsy, the tone, which is the push-pull. And by flimsy what I mean is it's lower resistance, which I guess you could use to your advantage. But the other thing is it's got some play. I'll bring it up close, maybe you can hear it, I don't know. Okay, so you're not going to be able to hear that. So I'm going back and forth, and it's not actually turning the pot. So you turn it, and then wherever it sits, you have that little bit of play. So the control that you have over it isn't quite as tight as I'd like it to be. I'm not sure if that's related to the fact that it's push-pull, if that was unavoidable, but it's just noticeable, and I don't necessarily think it's a great thing. Like on the selector, it's really only in the middle position, but if you listen, it kind of goes, it's kind of flimsy right there. It just doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel like it's gonna break. It's fine for that, but it just would be nice if that felt a little sturdier. The volume pot is really high resistance, not really high, but it's solid, and I like that, especially since there's no numbers or anything. Just it helps to know that once you get it in the right setting, it's just going to stay there. It's just got it doesn't have a compound radius fretboard. It just has a 14-inch radius fretboard all across. To me, that's not a negative at all. I've played guitars that have them. I've played guitars that have just consistent radius fretboards, and either way, I'm just able to play what I want to play. So it doesn't feel any different. It doesn't sound any different to me. I know what the purpose is, but it just doesn't really affect me at all. So I think that's about it. I don't really think there's anything else much to say as far as just the actual playability, the way the guitar itself feels, looks, plays. So I guess we'll just kind of get into some tones here, and I'll get more in depth about the Nazgul. Okay, and lastly, I just want to give a quick update on my channel. Basically, I know I haven't put out anything for over a year. The last thing I put out was Assault for the Ghetto. But I do have every intention of keeping this channel going. This channel is technically alive, even though I haven't been doing anything with it. It's just for a very purposeful reason. I've been practicing and writing this new instrumental called San Dimas.
Excellent!
Which I'm really, really happy with. The only problem is there's a couple parts in it that are just way too crazy fast and hard for me to play right now. So that will go on the back burner and come out as soon as it's ready. I'm really excited for you guys to hear it, but it won't be for probably another year or so. But in the meantime, I am at this point now going to start focusing on putting out more other music. A couple classical songs I want to put out, one other instrumental that I'll probably be recording next, actually. It's called Violent Salvation Part 1. It's part of like a metal trilogy, which I'm not trying to make it sound cool or anything. It's just the first part's an instrumental, and then there's two other parts that it leads into. Other than that, I'm going to try and get back into finishing up the rest of my other songs, because I have a lot of other songs that are basically finished. I just have to write the vocals for them and program the drums, which takes a little bit of time, but it's pretty simple. So yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm going to be putting out more music in 2016. I'm going to get back as fast as I can. It's a big process because I have to do all the recording, all the engineering, and all the music videos, all the footage, so it's a bit of a process, but I'm going to try and start really pumping them out. So I just wanted to say that real quick, that even though I haven't been putting out new videos, it was for a very specific reason, and this channel is not dead, and I haven't been neglecting it or being lazy or anything like that. So now it's just I'm at a point where I can start putting out material, and I just wanted to let everybody know that. So that's the end of that. Hope you enjoyed the whole thing, and take it easy.
Be excellent to each other.